Hey guys, it's Monday, 8:36 p.m. on October 1st, 2018. And as some of you know, I've been tracking this alleged hurricane tropical storm Rosa, as it's supposed to have been barreling up the Baja Peninsula as it goes on a trajectory from out here in the Pacific Ocean under this little island of Guadalupe to the southeast of the island of Guadalupe and pummels up onto the Baja Peninsula, jumps over the Gulf of California and piles its way through 400 miles of desert to hit Phoenix. That's what we're being told is going to happen. And here is the trajectory of the course that we've been told has happened. Well, what I have done over the last 24 hours is I have kept a close eye on this radar, and I've taken videos every 3 hours as this storm has changed. Now, I'm not able at all to show you a single thing that NOAA is alleging is happening in this area. In fact, the most recent radar should absolutely show that this hurricane / tropical storm or whatever it is, it should be showing up there. Because here, you guys, is actually by NOAA itself, the plotted data to show us that the storm is within 60 miles of land. Now, the eye of this storm spreads out over 150 miles, and the wind speeds are supposed to be sustained between 40 and 50 miles an hour. And yet, as I show you right here, right now, on IntelliCast, the wind speeds in this area, on this particular land at Guerrero Negro, Baja California, we have wind speeds of only 17 miles an hour. We are missing 30-mile-an-hour winds in an area where there's supposed to be a tropical storm barreling through right here. But what you do see is a storm that I'm going to demonstrate has been brewing and being held and being created and generated north of the island of Guadalupe here that I'm going to show you has been on radar since yesterday at 2 p.m. So let's take a peek here at some of the video that I captured over the last 24 hours so I can show you. This is a screenshot that compasses the time between 2:50 p.m. and 7 p.m. No, this goes to like 5 p.m. So 2:50 p.m. to 5 p.m. And you can see that there is a storm up to the north near Tijuana on the peninsula of Baja. And now at this particular time, let me just point out, I took this video around 7 o'clock at night. At this point, the storm would have been over here somewhere on this red line, okay? So the storm should have been a good 210 miles south of the island of Guadalupe and roughly 300 miles south of the storm itself. So this is not, let me repeat, this is not the tropical storm. This is a completely separate storm that is a good 300 miles away from where this Rosa is supposed to be going on. So let's just replay this and I can show you some of the anomalies that we capture on radar as you end up seeing these two railroad track looking things that show up on radar for a period of 10 minutes at about 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon, right there. So at 2:50 p.m., between 2:50 and 3 o'clock, because they were off the radar at 3, these railroad track looking anomalies pop up between the island of Guadalupe, and the Baja Peninsula. Okay, and they disappear immediately. They don't stay there. Now we're going to see a bunch of other radar anomalies as I proceed to show you the rest of the radar issues. Now here we have the radar that I took that spans from, this is the 10 p.m. one that goes from 7 to 10. And as you can see, the storm remains above the island of Guadalupe here. And it continues to progress. And at this point still, I'll show you again on Google Earth, the storm should not have been any more than 200 or 300 miles within the area of this. So this is not the storm of this hurricane or tropical storm Rosa. Because to this very minute, you guys, the tropical storm Rosa is 153 miles away from this island of Guadalupe. So there's at no point has the storm passed this island of Guadalupe to account for what we're seeing manufactured here in the northern part of the Baja Peninsula. So this is the radar that takes us to about 10 o'clock at night. And as I zoom in here, you can see some of the circular patterns that are forming off to the northwest of the island of Guadalupe. Obviously, this is a storm that is being manufactured by some sort of electromagnetic interference in the atmosphere. Okay, so let me take you. This one took us to 10 o'clock. Let's look at the one that gets to midnight. This storm, same thing, still 100 miles north of the island of Guadalupe, and still no hurricane in sight, no tropical storm to the south. Let me just pause this here and show you. There is nothing showing up on the Baja Peninsula to the south. Now, it probably wouldn't show up on that part of the radar because the storm would have been far off land. But my point is that there has been a storm here ever since yesterday afternoon. Now, what they're going to say is that this is the storm of Guadalupe, of Rosa, but it's not. This storm is still 100 miles north of the island of Guadalupe and 200 miles away from the tropical storm Rosa. So let's take a peek at what I caught at 3 o'clock in the morning. Still, yet again, we see more of these electromagnetic interferences in the cloud pattern formation to the north of the island of Guadalupe. The storm is still being generated and nothing is showing up on the Baja Peninsula and nothing is being shown approaching to this little area here. But we do see some ridiculous electromagnetic interferences here that demonstrate that the storm is being cooked up to be pushed into Arizona. And as you can see, a considerable amount of moisture is now aggregating over the Baja Peninsula. All right, that takes us to 3 o'clock in the morning. Let's look at 5 o'clock in the morning. By 5 o'clock in the morning, we have a lot more rain. Now we've got the Mexicali border here involved in it, as you see the electromagnetic striations in the cloud formation that is approaching into the Phoenix border, into the Arizona border, and probably rainstorms that are heading up towards Phoenix. But what we don't see is any storm whatsoever to the south of this island of Guadalupe. And yet, at this point in time, still, the Hurricane Rosa would be a good 200 miles still south of the island of Guadalupe. Now, it may not show up on radar, but for sure it doesn't show up on radar. And the storm that I'm showing you continues to brew over the Baja Peninsula here. This is the same storm that I showed you from 2 o'clock the afternoon before. So this will take us to 5 o'clock in the morning. Let's look at what we have here at 8 o'clock in the morning. This is the 8 o'clock in the morning video that I took. Once again, I will show you that the entire storm is to the north of the island of Guadalupe here, using that as our benchmark. More moisture is now congregating in the Gulf of California and is now heading into Phoenix. And I told my sister, I sent her a text message. She lives around in this area. I said, this is a contrived storm. This is not a hurricane. This is not a tropical storm. At this point, once again, I will show you Google Earth. We are still a good couple hundred miles south of this island of Guadalupe, and this storm has been brewing for at least 18 hours. Okay, so let's go now to the 11 or 1:30 in the afternoon. This takes us to, let's see. Yeah, this takes us from about 11 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock, let's see, I don't know. Yeah, about 11 o'clock in the morning to about 1:30 in the afternoon. And as you can see, the same pattern again. Just this contrived storm that is happening on the north part of the Baja Peninsula with absolutely nothing coming up on the Baja Peninsula from the south. Now the storm is approaching and getting closer, but all we're seeing on radar is these crazy blips that are appearing to the north of Guadalupe and now in the Gulf of California. And this moisture is being spread to Phoenix. Now, I'm going to pause here for a minute, and I want to take you to a YouTube video that would be about this time of the day, because this report came out about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And we'll listen to what this lady is telling us, knowing that the storm, Rosa, is still a good 300 miles south. And just to give you an idea of how far it is away from Yuma, at this point, you guys, this tropical storm, Rosa, is a good 450 miles south of Yuma. And yet, watch what they're reporting on the news.
7 million Americans are under flash flood watches in the southwestern U.S. Tropical storm Rosa is expected to move over Mexico's Baja California today. Heavy wind and rain from thunderstorms ahead of Rosa are already being felt in Yuma, Arizona.
Okay, so this is an Instagram from Yuma, Arizona, saying that this tropical storm is already hitting Yuma. You guys, that is absolutely impossible. At the biggest, at the very largest, this storm had a 150-mile radius. This storm is 450 miles away from Yuma at the moment that she is actually reporting this. This is a lie. These images of this rain is not from the storm Rosa. This is from the storm that I have been demonstrating on my radar blips here, showing you that this storm was the storm that was created last night. This gets me so mad. I gotta chill out. Let me just take you to the rest of these videos here. This is going to be the video that I did later on this afternoon, where I show you at about, well, this takes us from 11 a.m. I think I can get you to, yeah, this is the one that gets us to later on in the afternoon, where you see that there's just some crazy anomalies up here. And I actually call this the signature of the devil, because look, you guys, we can see this triangle pattern formation and these striations. This is a manufactured storm, you guys. This is not, and this has nothing to do with this charade that they're telling us has come up from down here. Nothing. No, at no point whatsoever have I showed you guys even one single minute of a storm south of Guadalupe. And if there's any time at all that storm should show up, it is right now. If this was real, this storm would definitely be showing up on radar. The eye of this hurricane or this tropical storm is 56 miles away from land. All the way around, at the most, it's 100 miles out. There's absolutely no way this would not show up on radar. And worse yet still, you guys, the wind speeds in this particular area where there's only scattered clouds are 17 miles an hour. What I'm going to show you is that over the next 24 hours, this storm continues to brew. The storm that was started yesterday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. This is the storm that they have created off the northwest coast of the Baja Peninsula. It has absolutely nothing to do with a hurricane. Hurricanes do not come off the west coast of the Baja Peninsula. There is no tropical storm down here. It cannot be picked up on radar. And yet the storm that is here, that for some reason you guys could very easily be explained as part of the monsoon season in Arizona, okay? Instead of them actually just saying, yeah, there's a storm at the north part of the Baja Peninsula that's barreling into Phoenix, at which nobody would even bat an eye. You guys, if they were to tell us the truth about this storm, nobody would even bat an eye at it. I wouldn't be paying any attention to it because, you guys, monsoon season happens at this time of year. It ends at the end of September. So what is the big deal? Why are they giving us this big fat lie about a hurricane? Why are they telling us that there's a tropical storm in an area that there is no tropical storm? What is going on here? This is clearly not a tropical storm. Clearly, it's not a tropical storm. This is just a normal storm. Now, it's normal to the extent that it's showing up on radar with striations, and it's been parked here for, almost 24 straight, well, over 24 hours. And I have a suspicion that this is actually a manufactured storm, that they may be using different kinds of instruments to test them for weather manipulation, and they need an alibi for why there's going to be so much water pouring in Arizona. I mean, that's what I'm suspicious, is that this is just going to be a big alibi to cover up whatever is making these striations in these clouds. I mean, that storm that I showed you in this video here, where you've got these triangles here and all of this weird, I'll play this for a second here so you guys can see all of this weird patterned, stuff that's happening. I mean, look at right here. Down near this, I can't even read what that says. I should get my glasses on, but you see right here, south of the border, it looks like that those 80s stickers that would be on the barrels of nuclear waste. You know the shape I'm talking about? That's what the shape of these clouds is taking here. This is, I suppose that what they're doing is they're using the alibi of a hurricane and a tropical storm to practice using weather manipulation instruments for the first time that may or may not produce a tremendous amount of rain, and they want to have some sort of a cover story for where the storm came from. But frankly, you guys, they could have just told us that this was a natural storm brewing off the west coast of the Baja Peninsula outside of Tijuana, and nobody would have even paid any attention. But it's because they lied to us with such an egregious, absolutely unbelievable falsehood that a hurricane was going to hit Arizona that I had to pay attention to it. And I can't help but wonder, what is the motivation for these news outlets to lie to us and tell us that this is the tropical storm? You guys, the tropical storm was at least 400 miles, 500 miles south of here at the time of this report. What is going on? I don't know. But I'm going to keep making my videos and covering the radar, and I'll be up every 3 hours to make these videos to track this for you, because you guys, they're lying to us.